For those of you who wish to purchase the first two complete books of my biography, please check out the description where you will find the links to my books published on Amazon, and you can write any questions or comments below this video. Nestled in the embrace of the low Tatra Mountains, Niskotatri, Liptovsky Jan presented itself as a hidden gem in a picturesque region renowned for its pristine natural springs. During the sun-kissed months of summer, visitors flocked to this tranquil enclave to breathe its pure air and revel in its stunning landscapes. When winter draped the mountains in a cloak of snow, those same visitors returned, eager to carve their paths down its inviting slopes. In the serene countryside surrounding Liptovsky Jan, shepherds guided flocks of sheep across vast, verdant fields, while farmers tended to cattle and cultivated fertile plots. This region, steeped in tradition, continues to be celebrated for its exquisite sheep cheese products, Ostipak and Brinza, along with the unique sheep milk beverage known as Zinkica. Ostipak, a classic smoked cheese crafted from sheep's milk, captivates with its rich, distinctive flavor. Brinza, on the other hand, offers a pleasantly salty taste and a crumbly texture reminiscent of feta cheese. Zinkica, or Zenica in Polish, is a refreshing drink akin to kefir, made from sheep's milk, and embodies the authentic flavors of this pastoral landscape. As a child, it was customary for me to accompany my parents to the local Catholic church nearly every Sunday. The rituals of faith were woven into the fabric of my upbringing, and my mother, with her gentle yet fervent spirit, imparted to me the sacred art of prayer. Together, we would sing a repertoire of Catholic hymns, our voices harmonizing in the hallowed space. I was enraptured by the eloquence of the local priest, whose sermons, delivered from the pulpit, resonated with a profound sincerity. So enthralled was I by his words that during our forays into the nearby woods and fields to forage for mushrooms or blackberries, I would scramble atop the nearest boulder, mimicking the preacher's cadence and delivering my imagined homilies to the attentive trees. On sun-drenched days, I found delight in lying upon the warm earth, gazing upward at the clouds drifting lazily across the expansive sky. My imagination wandered to the realms beyond the mountains, beyond the clouds themselves, kindling dreams of exploration to far-off places. Even in those early years, I sensed the confines of my world closing in like a tightening grip, a peculiar blend of childhood innocence and a burgeoning claustrophobia yearning for the vastness that lay beyond. As an only child at that time, my days were often spent in the company of adults. My mother would take me along on her errands, ensuring I would not be left alone at home. While I played with the neighborhood children whenever they were available, I often found myself drawn into the conversations of adults who spoke of lives so different from my own. Their discussions opened a window to new ideas and captivating tales, feeding my curiosity and sense of wonder. Occasionally, my mother and I would venture to a nearby town called Liptovsky Mikulis, located about 19 kilometers from our home. This bustling place felt like a sprawling city to me, alive with noise and bustling activity. It was a world that intrigued me. One day, my mother pointed out a spot of historical significance, a place where, according to legend, a man named Janicek had been captured and hanged. This revelation added a layer of historical mystery to the lively streets, where the echoes of the past intertwined with the vibrant present. In those days, my mother was the heart of our home, a devoted housewife who invested her time and energy in my upbringing. My father, on the other hand, toiled long hours, taking on various odd manual jobs, painting houses, performing maintenance work, all to provide for our family. My mother dedicated herself to nurturing my mind and spirit. She taught me to read and sing while guiding me through the mundane tasks of household chores. She often regaled me with stories, particularly those about Jesus and Mary, weaving moral lessons into our daily lives. When I faltered, perhaps by misbehaving or making a mistake, she would offer gentle reprimands. But when my transgressions were grave, like lying or intentionally breaking something, she would summon my father to address the matter. I held a profound affection for my father. Yet, there was an element of reverence in our relationship. The serious demeanor on his face alone was enough to humble me, prompting immediate self-reflection and a swift change in my behavior. My love for him was intertwined with deep respect, mingled with a hint of apprehension about the consequences of my missteps. In observing both my parents, I began to understand the divine attributes of God and Mary, drawing parallels between their guidance and moral lessons. Yet, for all of my father's presence, it was my mother who epitomized determination and resilience. She was the catalyst, always seeking ways for our family to thrive, ever mindful of the future and the possibilities it held. A step beyond the mountains fueled by her unwavering zeal and fortitude. Shortly before my 6th birthday, my parents and I embarked on a journey to a distant town in what is now the Czech Republic, Česk, nestled in the south near the Austrian border. There, one of my cousins, a young woman from my father's side, lived with her family. Through my mother's foresight, we arranged to stay with my cousin for a few weeks while we secured a mortgage for a small house. My father was to find employment at a local plant where locomotives and railway equipment were manufactured and assembled, and I was to begin my first-grade education in this new environment. The summer of 1960 marked the beginning of a transformative chapter in my life, where the dreams of crossing mountains started to crystallize into reality. Life in Česk felt vastly different from my previous experiences in Malatina or Liptovský Jan. At first glance, the town appeared larger and more vibrant, bustling with people and activity. Yet, amidst the liveliness, there were nuances and sights I had yet to encounter, intriguing and foreign to my youthful eyes. The town was lined with 3 formidable rows of electrified barbed wire fences, standing as a stark boundary against the nearby Austrian town of Gmund. At intervals of about 100 meters, guard towers rose ominously, each manned by a soldier armed with a submachine gun and a powerful searchlight that swept the area like a vigilant eye. Beneath the surface of the ground between the fences lay hidden mines, their presence a silent yet deadly warning. Both day and night, the streets of our town were patrolled by armed soldiers, their authoritative presence a constant reminder of the precariousness of our existence. In school, we were told that these measures were essential for our protection against the threat of imperialists eager to invade. Yet, amidst the lessons of security and vigilance, chilling stories circulated amongst us. Whispers of people attempting to cross the border, only to meet grim fates, electrocuted by the electrified fences, torn apart by the unseen mines, or gunned down by the watchful soldiers, lingered in the air. These tales, mingling with our youthful imaginations, instilled a profound sense of both fear and awareness of the harsh realities that lay just beyond our town's borders. Occasionally, I would catch glimpses of Austrian tourists passing through the quaint town of Česk. Their sleek, new cars glistened under the sun, and our youthful hearts leapt with joy whenever they bestowed upon us sweet treats, candies and chewing gum that eluded our local shops. During these encounters, I also discovered that some townsfolk conversed in a foreign tongue, German. It would later dawn on me that before the upheavals of World War II, Česk and the neighboring Gmund had existed as one cohesive community. Several months after our arrival in this charming town, my parents made a significant commitment, signing a mortgage for a house with a local state-owned bank. Nestled in a quiet suburb known as Žižkovo, the property was remarkably affordable given its generous back garden and a modest front yard. Yet, the house itself was in dire need of renovation. Both the interior and exterior cried out for a fresh coat of paint, and the rear section bore the scars of war, having been all but obliterated by an errant bomb during the conflict. I relished my time at school, despite the 3-kilometer trek required to reach it each day. Along the way, I often paused at a nearby Catholic church to listen to the morning Mass, a place where I also had the honor of serving as an altar boy on Sundays. The school offered a vibrant array of colorful books and dedicated teachers who brought our lessons to life. In the 3rd grade, my studies encompassed a diverse curriculum that included mathematics, geometry, history, Czech grammar, geography, music, art, and the Russian language. By the time I progressed to the 5th grade, my education expanded to include chemistry, physics, and astronomy. Each subject captured my imagination, but it was the Russian alphabet, with its distinct sounds, that particularly intrigued me. Our classrooms were furnished with sturdy desks, chairs, and blackboards, creating an environment conducive to learning. We wrote with pens dipped into small ink jars, which sat conveniently on each desk, and we were encouraged to master the art of clear and beautiful handwriting. When a teacher stood before us to explain a lesson, we were compelled to offer our undivided attention, sitting up straight with our hands resting on our lower backs. Any student caught fidgeting or distracted during a lecture faced immediate consequences. A reprimand was swift, and if necessary, the teacher would lightly tap their knuckles with a ruler, delivering a firm but gentle reminder. Students who were inattentive might find themselves sent to stand in the corner for the remainder of the class. Those caught whispering to classmates would be escorted outside to the hallway, and upon returning after the lesson, they would be required to stay after school to make up for lost time. Though such a teaching environment might strike today's students as excessively strict, I reflect on my education with gratitude. The discipline we experienced was not rooted in cruelty, but rather in a commitment to helping us learn and grow. The lessons I absorbed in that school remain etched in my memory, shaping not just my intellect but my character as well. Undoubtedly, the curriculum was laced with the threads of communist ideology. We were encouraged to revere the likes of Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, and Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, and to view the Soviet Union as our liberator. The textbooks brimmed with tales of the supposed exploitation of workers in capitalist societies, detailing the plight of the unemployed and the few wealthy individuals who controlled natural resources while thousands languished in poverty. Atheism, too, was subtly woven into our education, presented under the guise of logic. I remember one particular field trip with my classmates, a pleasant venture into the countryside where our teacher urged us to identify various plants and trees. At one moment, the teacher gestured toward the sky, inquiring what we could see. As we called out observations, clouds, the sun, birds in flight, the teacher prodded us further. Excellent, but what lies above the sky? Does anyone know? A girl excitedly raised her hand, proclaiming, "I know, there is heaven up there." The teacher smiled gently but countered, "I'm afraid, my dear, that there is no heaven above, only the vast expanse of space filled with planets and stars." While I longed to question what might exist beyond that cosmic void, my shyness held me back. As a child, I was so timid that I couldn't bear to meet the gaze of strangers, let alone stand before my classmates to introduce myself. Yet, unbeknownst to me, a future awaited where I would address throngs, looking directly into their eyes. After school, I approached my homework with diligence, but my mother often struggled to coax me into assisting with household chores. I was an avid reader, and persuading me to partake in anything else at home became a considerable challenge for my parents. Every month, I would visit the local library with my father, devouring 3 to 4 books. Drawing, inspired by the works of Mykola Zalesh, was another passion of mine. Armed with pencil and pen, my sketches became a canvas for my imagination, compelling me to escape into vibrant worlds only I could envision. In those days, my father was employed by the state-owned railroad, beginning his career in a local facility where new steam-powered locomotives were meticulously assembled. He later transitioned to the role of switchman, skillfully changing the rails by hand to redirect trains along their appointed paths. My mother, a dedicated housewife, devoted her time to nurturing our household and instilling in me the values that would shape my character. She ensured that I completed my homework diligently each day and then enlisted my help with household chores, from cooking to the inevitable washing up. In the evenings, we would gather to pray together and sing Catholic hymns, creating a warm, family bond steeped in tradition. Life in a socialist country, under the governance of the communist Soviet Union, presented a peculiar blend of advantages and disadvantages. On the positive side, unemployment was virtually non-existent. Every able-bodied individual was required to work. Education was both free and remarkably advanced, while medical care was similarly provided at no cost. Housing, often offered for free or at a minimal expense by the state, ensured that families had a roof over their heads. The streets felt safe, even late at night, thanks to the visible presence of uniformed and plainclothed state security patrols, and the state enforced strict prohibitions against prostitution, pornography, and drug use. Homosexuality was labeled an abnormal deviation, and specialized facilities existed to provide psychological and medical rehabilitation for individuals deemed in need of correction. Yet, with these measures came stringent limitations. Religious practices were often marginalized or outright ridiculed. The selection of priests and ministers was under the purview of a state commission. Engaging with literature not sanctioned by the state or consuming media from non-socialist countries was considered a crime against the regime. Food shortages were a recurring burden on the populace. To acquire sufficient supplies, families routinely stood in line for hours outside stores before they opened, enduring the frustration of scarcity. It became commonplace for households to enjoy meat only once or twice a week, a stark reflection of the challenges that defined our daily existence. Thus, the Catholic faith not only became my daily practice but also an integral part of my life. Every Sunday, I attended Mass with my parents, and each morning on my way to school, I participated in the Holy Mass. But this commitment, however, did not come without its challenges. I became the target of mockery from my atheist classmates, who derisively referred to me as a church rat. Yet, I refused to let their taunts deter me. Instead, I found my faith deepening, and before long, I was serving as an altar boy at the Latin Mass, and I was captivated by the solemnity of the Latin language and the melodic chants that filled the air during the service. It was perhaps then that my passion for foreign languages first ignited. Although Czechoslovakia was unified at that time, it was home to three distinct nationalities: Czechs, Slovaks, and Moravians. Their languages shared similarities, but also had notable differences in vocabulary. In my household, I spoke Slovak, while at school, I communicated in Czech. Czechoslovakia was under a socialist regime, functioning as a satellite state of the Soviet Union, which mandated that we begin learning the Russian language in the 3rd grade. Situated on the border with Austria, the town of Česk had a significant number of residents of Austrian descent, many of whom conversed in German amongst themselves. Their conversations intrigued me, and I found myself wondering about the subjects they discussed. My fascination with the German language deepened one day when I discovered an old German book in the attic of our home. I was particularly enchanted by the letters in which the book was written, the ornate Gothic type that seemed to transport me to another time and place. With growing determination, I approached my mother and expressed my desire to take private German lessons from one of the local teachers of Austrian descent. "My dear son," she responded, concern etched on her face. "You are already learning Czech and Russian. That should be enough for you at this time." Undeterred, I persisted in my request day after day, hoping to convince her to give me a chance to explore this new language. Finally, after much persuasion, she relented and enrolled me in German classes. Within just a few short weeks, she began to observe my progress with astonishment, which led her to permit me to continue my studies. Before long, I found myself engaging in German conversations with other residents of Austrian descent, and to my delight, I even learned to write in Gothic script, each character a fascinating challenge that opened new avenues of understanding and expression. For those of you who wish to purchase the first 2 complete books of my biography, please check out the description where you will find the links to my books published on Amazon, and you can write any questions or comments below this video.